Welcome everyone. If this is your first time, if you're just turning up online, my name's Robert and I'm one of the pastors here at Epicentre Church, and we are thrilled to have you with us as we start December and lead up into what's coming up, and that is what's coming up. No, Christmas isn't coming up. What's coming up? Ice creams is coming up. Shaz, that is incredible. That he's like, Ethan is ready. Yeah. He is ready for ice creams. He can next year, I'll let him plan the calendar with me. He obviously knows what's coming. Yeah, yeah, ice cream every week. So if you like to back up what Hannah and Shaz were sharing with us, start of summer every year, there's one way to do it well, and that's with ice creams from the ice creamery here in Echuca. So you guys like ice cream? Hey? Not for you. Yes, it is, man. Absolutely. It is free. So, hey, welcome everyone. Before I start, where's Annabelle? Oh. Okay. No, don't go get her. I was going to make a mention. So, Annabelle Turner is the eldest daughter of Scott. He was playing guitar just a moment. She preached, I'm assuming for the first time, at youth on Friday night, and it was amazing. It was so good. So if you know her, find her and say, I heard that you did really well. In fact, I got up to do what was next, and the youth proceeded to tell me that she's better than me in every way, like as far as like, she's more relevant than you, Rob. She communicates better. Her PowerPoint is better than yours. Everything. Is that right? Yeah. She did so good. It was fantastic. So we are beginning, and we're going to be opening a service or a sermon series this morning. That it's on the screen. But before that, I just want to do something. Cool. All right. Sorry. I'm distracted. No. I'm looking at a video from the Profit Analyst. I don't know who they are. They're smart feeders. No, there's a point I'm making. Yeah. And this is really cool. I'm also on screen. That wasn't meant to happen. It just happened. I was on screen. Now it's gone to another video. There I'm back. How many of you do that? Mindlessly scroll. Mindlessly scroll. And then you find something. And then I struggle with this. I get up in the morning and have a habit at times, often, of mindlessly scrolling at the most inappropriate times. Just scrolling through whatever it is, like it's Facebook or it's social media of any description, or it's news, and there's so many other things you could be filling your mind with. And here's the honest truth. I am a pastor, and not only that, I am your pastor, and your pastor sometimes, a lot of the time, when I should be doing something more productive with my time, like maybe it could be a good thing to read my Bible, or to read some leadership stuff, or to pray, I will scroll. Like mindlessly scroll, be it news articles, be it something else. And here's the thing, there's always the intention to not. But if I'm honest, so often distraction turns up and I do the opposite of what I'm planning on doing or wanting to do. And I intend on doing something good and productive with my time, but a lot of the time I end up doing the opposite of what is good and productive. And it's not that I don't want to be good and productive, but I'm not good and productive. And I end up doing something that I don't want to do. And this is a bit confusing, isn't it? But I bet that you're something similar. That you may not be scrolling, but it might be like, maybe it is scrolling. It's 11:47 p.m. and you should have been at bed hours ago, and you know that, and you wanted to be. And for the last 2 weeks, you've been saying, I'm going to go to bed at insert whatever time it is because I need to have good sleep. But there was that show that the first episode was that good, and now you're into season 4. Right? It was so good. You couldn't turn it off. Yes, it's exactly right. You get stuck on loop, and it's not social media, it's Netflix, or if it's not that, or you find yourself in the dark corners of YouTube, going through all these conspiracy theories or whatever else pops up, and you can't stop, and then I'll just watch one more video, and then you finish that video, and then you know what comes up in the corner of the screen is a suggestion on what's going to come up next. And you're like, that's too good. I must, and so you start watching that, don't you? And you keep telling yourself, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to bed early, but it's 11:47 p.m. And for the last 2 weeks, you've said the same thing, or every morning you are rushing and racing to work, not because you didn't have time or you didn't get up in enough time, but because you spent an hour lying in bed doing something else. You wanted to do something, but you ended up not doing it. And so the thought is this. We all have what we want to do and what we don't want to do. And the question is why can't we stop? Why can't we and why don't we just stop scrolling, stop this, stop that? And here's the reality. That's kind of a comical reality of something a whole lot deeper. Because on the outside, we have this struggle, say, with social media scrolling, Netflix, binging, YouTube. But there's a whole lot, they're the basic stuff that just happens in life that we struggle to not do and not outwork. But you and I both have deeper issues, struggles, wrestles that are in our lives that we struggle to not do. We don't want to do them, but we keep doing them anyways. And the question is why don't we just stop the scroll, stop the watch? Stop the whatever it is, because here's the reality. It's not that you don't know better, and it's not that you don't want better. You just seem to be a little bit powerless to do any better. You seem to be powerless about going any better about it. And so it brings up that we have this problem, and the problem simply is this, that there's a gap. And the problem of the scrolling, and the scrolling reflects something deeper, be it an addiction to something else, or just cannot stop something else. And maybe it's not addiction to substance, it's just this deep, dark habit that leads you to a bad place that outworks things that aren't healthy or healthful. That highlights there's a gap. And the gap simply is this, between who you are and who you know you should be. I know I should be a better person than just scrolling on socials. I know that that's not going to be productive for my life. I know that, and there'll be other things in my life, and there's other things in your life other than the basic comical, funny sort of things that we get stuck with, that I don't want to do that, but I keep doing that, and I know that's not who I'm supposed to be, but I keep doing that anyway. And maybe the simple ones is I don't want to be that person that gossips, but I can't not gossip every time I have a conversation. I don't want to do it, and I feel bad about doing it, but I keep doing it, and there's nothing I can seem to do to stop it. And there keeps being this never-ending or self-fulfilling prophecy, so to speak, that I don't want to do it, and I tell myself I won't, but every time I keep on doing it. It's a gap. It's a gap between who you are and who you know you should be. And so the idea of what I'm wanting to get across this morning is this idea. When you discover that gap, the solution to the gap between who you are currently and who you want to be is solved by proximity, not performance. And so the idea that I want to try and bottom out on, which is going to take 3 weeks. So we're going to leave this morning with unfinished business. Is that okay? Yeah. I'm going to give you some thoughts this morning, but I'm really not going to bring a resolve until a little bit next week and then landing deeper on the third week. But we're going to start this, and this is going to take us over the next 3 weeks. Proximity. Everyone say proximity. Proximity. Proximity to something changes what performance never will. So you will never perform your way into a better relationship with Jesus. You will never perform your way out of sin. You will never perform your way into anything proximity changes what performance never will. And so that's going to start us and that's going to launch us into this series being this, the God who came close. This is our Christmas series. It's going to take us to Christmas. Christmas Eve, we're going to talk about this, but not going to come back to this per se. But it's our Christmas series. And the idea of what we're wanting to talk about is that we're wanting to extract and talk about and wrestle through or go through this series or the story of Christmas. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to talk so much about a baby lying in a manger surrounded by farm animals and things. That's a Christmas story. And that's a beautiful Christmas story. And that's a powerful Christmas story. But sometimes I think that the story of the nativity scene distracts us from the reason behind the Christmas story. And the reason behind the Christmas story was that there was a gap. There was a gap between what man wanted to do, humanity wanted to do, or what humanity knew that they should be doing and what humanity was doing. And the Christmas story reveals something incredibly, incredibly, incredibly good about God, that he chose to come close. Which at the core of it, this is really important. This is the very thing that separates Christianity from every other major religion in particular. It's the Christmas story. That God, through Jesus, chose to close the gap. He chose to come close, not in order to judge us, to condemn us, to tell us that we're wrong, but in order to transform us. And ultimately what we get to see in the Christmas story is that God does something different to every other religion. Christianity shows something different to every other religion. Every other religion has humanity reaching up, trying to do better, become better in order to get to God, get God's approval, get to nirvana, get to the enlightenment, get to whatever you want to put it, get to somewhere. Keep going on repeat until you get it right. But Christianity reveals something different, that God chose, before we could get it right, to reach down and step into our lives in order to allow us this space for proximity so that we could draw close to the God that could save us. That's at the heart of the Christmas story. And so what I want to do is I want to, over the next couple of weeks, whether we stay in this book or whether we bounce from this book, but we are, I've never heard this necessarily from a Christmas sermon series, but I bet you it's been done. But I want to take us through some wrestlings of what Paul has. Paul, if you don't know who he is, he's this guy that absolutely hated the church, was vehemently against the church. In fact, he was the greatest persecutor of the church until he has this incredible encounter you can read about in Acts chapter 9, where he discovers the risen Jesus and then he becomes the greatest supporter of the church. He writes a letter to one of the churches that he has planted in Rome, and he lands on something that I bet that you struggle with. And he shares with them something that you struggle with and I struggle with, and that's that very struggle that we started with. And he says it like this in Romans chapter 7 from verse 15. He says, I really don't understand myself. Anyone experienced that? That moment where you said something that you shouldn't have said and you're like, I really didn't want to say that. I planned on not saying it because I knew that I could have said it, but I still said it anyways. And you walk away from that conversation, or you did something and you're like, I don't understand myself. I really don't get it because I didn't want to do it. I don't understand myself. And he says it for this reason. Because, for I want to do what is right. And so many of you, in fact, I'd suggest all of you will know what this feels like. I know what this feels like. I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate. I do the things that I don't want to do, as opposed to the things that I should be doing, ultimately highlighting there's a gap. There's a gap. There's an issue. There's something wrong. There's something amiss. There's something not right. And ultimately what he's extracting, though he doesn't point directly to it, but he's talking about the Christmas story, trying to bring the solve and the solution. Like he's highlighting that there is a problem between what I want to do and what I am doing and everything that comes in between. And it might look like this. I touched on it before, but gossip. You don't want to gossip, but you can't not share that story about that person, and every time you do it leaves you feeling dirty. And then you go to the next conversation, you're like, I'm not going to do the same thing. I am not going to share. I've got that juicy piece of information. I know something that no one else knows. And Sage, do you want to know this? No. No. See, if you're going to gossip, you don't ask them if they want to know. You just go ahead and tell them. Because, yeah, that was a joke. You meant to laugh. Yeah, ha, ha. That's right. And so, it's like it leaves you feeling dirty, and you don't want to do it, but you keep on doing it. And it keeps on leaving you feeling dirty. And he's like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do it, but I keep on doing it. Or maybe it's not that. You want to take the next step in the dream that's on your heart as far as you feel that God's called you, that God's asking you, that there's this big thing that you're wanting to do, but you're terrified. And fear keeps chickening you out. And you just can't take the plunge, can't take the step because fear keeps turning up and whispering in your mind and you just never take that step forward. Or maybe you want a deeper relationship. Be it with friends, be it boyfriend, girlfriend, be it in your marriage, be it whatever. But the only transparent conversation that you have is between you and an AI chatbot, which is becoming more and more and more common. That the amount of young people, not just young people, but middle-aged people, have deep relationships with AI chatbots, but no relationship with the person next to them. Will share intimate details of their life struggles, but won't share with a real individual person, but are desperate for a relationship, but won't take that plunge, that step forward of transparency. And they're desperately wanting something, but something keeps holding them back. Or you want to be a better parent, but you're still constantly working 12 plus hours every single day and you won't stop. You want to have a better sex life, but you watch porn weekly. You don't want to do it, but you keep doing it. You don't want this in your life, but you won't get it out. Like you're struggling to get it out of your life. And try as you might, you just never seem to be able to get rid of it, which highlights this, the gap between who you are currently, how you are currently living, and how you know you should be living, or the person that you believe or convinced that convicted that you are supposed to become. It's the gap between. The gap between is ultimately what the Bible would call sin. That gap that you're feeling, that gap that all that's highlighting, and you guys will have a gap that I haven't listed. And the Bible calls that sin. And if you don't know what sin is, or you're not sure what sin is about, sin ultimately is this. It is missing the mark. It is missing the mark. And so that's why there's the gap as far as there's what I am doing versus what I know I'm created to be, but there's the gap between. And missing the mark ultimately comes from an ancient archery term. As far as like an archer would sorry, I shouldn't aim at you, but whatever. Down here, and there's, right? And so there's a bullseye, and the archer fires, and the distance between, when the arrow doesn't hit bullseye but misses, that's called sin. Missing the mark, not landing where it should be. And so there's moments where you screw up and do what you didn't want to do, but you did it. That's the gap between, and that is sin. And that's ultimately what Paul is talking about. But here's what the church fixates on sin. And this is what we fixate on sin as individuals. And this is what I've done as well. We make it all about do this, don't do that. Rules, regulations, things. But while it's that, sin is so much deeper than that. Sin is ultimately this. It's not just about breaking rules or doing bad things. It's talking about falling short of the life that you were created for. If sin is only about I did bad things, and not about I'm stepping into becoming the person that God created me to be, then we completely missed what sin is about. And we've highlighted one aspect of sin. But if God's put a dream in your heart to go and be a missionary and insert blank, to start a business, and it's a God thing, sin is not doing it. Sin is not engaging with it. Sin is not choosing to become the person that you know you're supposed to be. It's not just about bad actions, it's about falling short of everything God has in store for us. And that's what Paul is highlighting when he says, I want to do what is right. I don't. I do the opposite. I do the opposite thing. I do the very thing that I hate. And we all do it, don't we? I remember one time I was at a dinner. I was at a dinner at Adam and Rebecca's place. Adam and Rebecca Mitchell. Don't judge them. They are lovely hosts. And Micah was at this dinner. And you know when Micah knows the story already, don't you? Yeah, yes, you do. Where there's a buffet meal. I'm going to tell you everything Micah did wrong. No, it's actually all about me. You know where there's a buffet meal and everyone serves themselves? Adam and Rebecca Mitchell, they put on this big buffet meal, and there was all these people there, and I try and do the polite thing, like I try and go last, which is fine. But when there's more plates than there are guests, good hosts start bringing out other plates that don't match the other plates. And the issue with that, some of the other plates that they brought out to deal with the amount of people there were small. There was big plates and there was small plates. And so it's coming down to the wire, and Micah and I, we're there engaging, talking in the line, and like now there's only one plate shy of the big plates. And that's at the bottom of the pile, and I can see that Micah and I are going to be last. And I'm looking at the big plate, and I'm looking at the little plate. And I'm looking at the food, and I'm thinking, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and that little plate isn't enough. I need the big plate. But I'm like, no, I can't be that person. I'm not going to be that person. I will not be that person. I am going to be the polite person, and I'm going to give Micah the big plate, and I'm going to take the little plate, because that's what a good pastor should do. That's what a good human should do. And so we're walking up to the bench, and we're talking, we're engaging. I don't know what we're talking about, but at some point I checked out. I don't know what he was saying, because I've got this war going on in my mind, like, Robert, take the little plate. Robert, take the little plate. And I pick up both plates, because I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to give him the bigger plate. And I've got, when you got the angel and the demon? That's exactly what this moment felt like. And it felt like it went on for eternity. I've got both plates, and I'm like, I'm going to give him the big plate, and it's like a big plate, and the little plate goes to him. And it happened in slow motion. And the next 10 minutes were slow motion too. And it was incredibly slow motion as I was plating the food up, because the guilt. Like, I'm scooping the food out and putting it on. I'm like, you could have just come back for seconds. What kind of person are you? Doesn't matter, we'll go to the next aisle of food. Who would do this? Don't think about this, just keep going. And I kept going, and I'm like, I wonder where I should sit. Nowhere near Micah. Because I feel so judged every time he looks at me. But here's the problem. There's no seats left, other than the two. Because we've gone last, and I have to sit next to the person that I've just stolen food from, and I didn't want to do it. And like, I was watching this whole thing play out for ages, realizing that there was the exact amount of plates for everyone, and that we were going to be the two there last, and that I was going to be the generous person that gifted something to him, and I was planning, prepping, working, like I was going to be that person, but I wanted to do what was right, but I didn't. And it's comical, but we do it all the time. We do it with plates of food, we do it with scrolling in the morning, and we do it with the deep, dark things in our lives that are destroying our soul, our lives, our relationships. We do it. And that's what Paul is getting at. He says this, I know this. Because of this, I want to do what is right, but I don't. I do the things that I hate. And he says, I know this. I know that nothing good lives in me. That is in my sinful nature. And he starts explaining, here's the problem of the gap. The gap is the sin. The gap is the problem. This is the issue. This is the struggle of what it is that I'm going through. Like, I know that nothing good lives in me. That is in my sinful nature. And some of you will have landed on that experience and that feeling before. Like, I'm wanting to do, and I just don't feel like I can do what it is that I'm meant to be doing, supposed to be doing. It's like I'm a horrid human being. And that's what he's trying to highlight and get at without trying to throw condemnation on. He says, I want to do what is right, and he's repeating everything, but I can't. I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway, just like with the plate, just like with the morning routine, just like with the evening routine, just like with the marriage, just like with the internet searches, I want to do, but I do it anyways. But if I do what I don't want to do, I am not real, and he's highlighting the problem, the one doing wrong, because it is this. It is sin living in me that does it. And some of you have been in this this wrestle for the last I don't know how long. I don't want to live like this, but I keep living like this. And try as I might, I cannot bring a resolution to it. I cannot bring a solve to it. I cannot close the gap. And some of you have been asking this question of why can't that gap close? Why can't I do it? And it's because it's something else that's going on inside of you other than just sheer willpower. It is sin that lives in me that is doing it. I have discovered this principle of life that when I want to do what is right, Paul says, I inevitably do the opposite. I do what is wrong. And then he gets to this point. He says, I love God's law with all my heart. Highlighting this. What you need to know about Paul. If you don't know who Paul is, what you need to know about Paul. Paul wasn't some guy that just had this random encounter with Jesus. He is just some guy that had an encounter with Jesus, but there's backstory to who he is. He wasn't just some guy that was just living his best life ever and had this encounter with Jesus, had this revelation and got on with the job of spreading the good news about Jesus. He was passionate about God, incredibly passionate about God, passionate about the things of God, passionate about following God, passionate about serving God. He just had it wrong about Jesus, majorly wrong about Jesus. And so realize this. When he says, I love God's law with all my heart, Paul was a Pharisee. Pharisees were people that devoted their lives. So I'm going to give you a very drop-down version of it. They were very educated individuals. They were religious leaders of their time, passionate about getting people to follow the law of God because they felt that if we could get people to follow the law of God, we'll get the blessings of God. And so that's what he is so passionate about outworking. But not only this, you have to understand that in his writings, he highlights this, that I am a Pharisee of Pharisees, meaning that I am incredibly gifted. I am incredibly smart. I am incredibly educated. So this guy isn't just some random person that has an encounter with Jesus. He is an incredibly educated religious leader. In other words, he graduated at the top of his class, at the top of the school. He knows everything that there is to know about God's law. And he's like, I love God's law with all my heart. And what he's saying is, I have spent my life devoted to knowing, learning, understanding God's law, doing my all to follow God's law, doing my all to make sure I'm following it, doing it right, getting it right, to make sure I'm doing what's right and make sure I'm avoiding what God's law says I shouldn't be doing. I have devoted my entire life trying to do that, outwork that, and here's the thing, I still land in the same thing. I'm trying to be a better person, but I can't. I cannot get rid of this mud that seems to be on me. No matter how I try, I still feel empty. I still feel like something's missing. I still feel like it's not working. That's what he's trying to get at. And then he ends up like getting to this point where he lands on this epiphany. And maybe this is your epiphany as well, where you've landed at. And maybe just now, this is where you're getting to, where he gets to this. There is this another power at work within me that is at war with my mind. It's the power that makes me a slave to the sin that is still within me. That's the reason you can't close the gap, because of the power of sin. That's why performance is never going to cut the mustard. So he gets to this. He says, what a miserable person I am. What he's saying is, I'm looking at the gap. I'm realizing the sin. I'm realizing the dilemma. I realize that this is who I was created to be, and this is how far I am away from it. I am a miserable person. What he's not trying to do, he's not trying to throw condemnation on his readers. He's not trying to throw condemnation on us and say that you're like this vile, wicked person. But as I stand, try as I might, it's not working. If I keep doing this, I am a miserable person because it's not going to land. I'm a miserable person. Then ask this question, who will free me from this life that is dominated by sin and death? Who's going to free me? And it's like this rhetorical question. He's throwing at his audience. He's throwing at us. He's throwing at Rome. I want to do what is right, and I don't. I do the opposite. I'm a miserable person, and I realize this. I realize that I need rescuing from this. Who is going to do that? Who is going to do this? And he's just said, I love God's law. He's spent his life just like some of you have spent your faith trying to do better, trying to gain righteousness, trying to gain God's favor by good actions, trying to tithe your way into a relationship with Jesus, into favor with God, trying to pray your way into it, attend your church way into it, whatever your way into it. Try. But here's the thing, what he's trying to get at, what he's trying to get across to the church in Rome as well as to us is the solution to sin, the solution to the gap, the solution to the issue isn't found in principles or performance. It's found in proximity. Try as you might, perform as you might, do all the right things as you might, it's not going to close the gap. You can have the right convictions or work out what you should be believing, highlighting, expecting, wanting. Like you can have the right convictions or principles that outwork in the perhaps right performance. But you can have principles and performance, but if you don't have proximity, it's never going to close the gap. It's never going to close the gap. And what he's been saying, he's like, I love God's law with all my heart. I've spent my life developing my principles and my convictions. I've spent my life performing and outworking them, and they never close the gap. And what he's getting with is, who is going to close the gap? How can I close the gap? I've been trying my entire life. You've been trying your entire life. The gap's never got closed. It's never shut down. It's never outworked any of that. Who's going to do it? It's got to be proximity. And he gets to this point where he says this, thank God the answer isn't me. The answer is Jesus Christ our Lord. The gap doesn't get closed by what it is that I'm doing outworking, by how I perform, about my good convictions. The gap will never get closed you can never close the gap by believing the right things, by doing the right things. You will only ever close the gap by proximity to the right thing. And that is proximity to the King. That is proximity to Jesus. That is proximity to the life that we were created to get close to. And that is Jesus, which is what Paul's talking about, which is ultimately the Christmas story. There was a gap. There is a gap. The Christmas story would highlight this, that God turned up at the perfect time, in the perfect space, in the perfect place to close the gap. He turned up in the right space when humanity needed him the most. And here's the thing, that story has been on repeat for the last 2,000 years. For those of you that have discovered a relationship with Jesus, you discovered this, that at the right time, he turned up in your life and closed the gap. He turned up in your life and closed the gap. There was nothing that you did, nothing that you could have done. He closed the gap. Not by your performance, not by your good prayers, not by your good deeds, but by his presence. That's the story of Christmas that moves forward to the story of Easter, that a king, that a God died on a cross, but not to stay dead, but came back to life in order to finally close that gap forever. So the question is this, like, what is it that you are keeping close? When it comes to proximity, what is it that you're keeping close? Because the reality is this, and the band, you guys can make your way up. I'm going to start wrapping up. We're good at proximity. We're good at closeness. Just not necessarily to the right things. Not necessarily to the good things. But we all outwork keeping something close, keeping social media close, keeping a voice close, keeping something close. The question is, what is it that you are keeping close? And so this is what I want you to do this week. What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna give you a 3-step plan on this is what you're going to do. I want you to take one step that's gonna culminate in another thing next week that's going to drift your attention, that's going to continue into the next week, in order to try and close this gap as far as our understanding of what proximity is and how the story of Christmas transforms our lives from the inside out. So this is what I want you to do this week, and it's simple as this. I want you to audit your proximity. So if you're taking notes, I've got a couple of things I want you to write down. This is what I want you to do this week. Be proactive at it. It's going to be a thinking thing. It's going to be an outworking thing. And you're going to ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one is this. Check your screen time. And check your screen time isn't necessarily like, how long have I been on socials for, or this for, or that for? You can look into that. There's nothing wrong with screen time. It's the story of what screen time reveals that becomes the problem. And it's this, like, check your screen time, understand this, what voices are closest? There's nothing wrong with news. There's nothing wrong with socials. There's nothing wrong with Netflix. There's nothing wrong with YouTube. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. It's the story that comes out of it. What voices are closest? Because honestly, you could spend an incredible amount of time on socials, and everything that you watch and engage with is character building as far as it is sowing into you. It is giving you Christian wisdom, insight. Maybe it's all sermons. Maybe it's all Bible verses. Maybe it's all that. Maybe the only thing that you watch is Christian episodes on whatever that's sharing over and over the story of the gospel. And I'm like thumbs up. That's a good thing. Screen time isn't the problem. It's a story that it's revealing. So with your screen time, check your screen time. What voices are closest? Because if you spend more time with your favorite soap opera than you do with your king, the theology of how the world works will come from the writer and the director of the soap opera, not from the king, not from Jesus. So check your screen time. And the next one is this. Check your calendar. Check what's been. Check what's coming up. Do an audit. Some of you, I can make it a little bit simple. You're at school. Simple. You're at work. Simple. But what you can do outside of that is ask, who am I hanging out with? Are they good? Are they beneficial? Are they helping? Are they adding anything into my life? Who are the people that I'm socializing with at lunch or around the coffee machine? Are they adding something? Or are they subtracting something? Check your calendar and ask this. Who are you actually with? Are they building you, or are they sucking something out of you? And we need to be people that are in the world, that are ministering to people and engaging. We need to be doing that. But if we're not auditing the priority of who's speaking into us, there's a problem. So check your calendar. Who are you actually with? Who are you actually with? And the third one is this. Check your thoughts. Spend a week looking at, noticing your thoughts, and ask this question. What's on repeat? What's on repeat? Is it fear of tomorrow? Is it excitement for what God's going to do? Is it expectation? Is it prayer? Is it the majesty of Jesus? Is it those stupid dog videos that you saw when you were funny dog faces that you see on socials? What is it? What's on repeat? What's on repeat in your mind? Audit your proximity. Because this is what's going to happen. You're going to go home, and tomorrow morning, or tonight, or whenever it is, the same problem's going to exist. You're going to struggle again with scrolling, with the addictions, with the temptations, with whatever it is that you struggle with. That same dilemma is going to be there. What I want you to do is not just try and cut it off. I want you to notice it. Because the step before doing anything about is noticing that we have a problem, which is what Paul was trying to highlight. I want to do what is right, but I don't. When I do, I end up invertibly doing what was wrong. And this is the story of Christmas. The story of Christmas is that God wants to step in, has stepped in, and will always step in at just the right time. All you need to do is fix your proximity to Him. Imagine if this Christmas, that the nativity scene didn't cloud over the reality of the story. The nativity scene is great, it's beautiful, there's so much in it. 3 wise men coming and visiting a baby, angels, Mary and Joseph, shepherds. It's incredible. I love the story. But so often the happenings and the surroundings and everything that's going on in that, it clouds over what's happening. And what's happening is that God wanted to close the gap, and that God's wanting to close the gap. God's wanting to close the gap between who you are and who you know that you should be. I want to end with this thought. God didn't wait for you, and He's still not waiting for you to close the gap. God didn't wait for you to close the gap. He closed it Himself. So what we're going to look at starting this morning and in the next couple of weeks, We're going to look at that. The God who came close. The God who came close and did something in order to close the gap. He chose proximity to you so that his presence would be the gap filler. How about you stand? I'm going to pray for you, and then I'm going to hand it over to the band. What was the 0.5 song that you did? Yes, can we do that, please? I know we said we'll do something else, but let's do that. What we're going to do, I'm going to pray for you, and then I want you to focus your attention to him. And we're just going to sing through something that we sung before, and it's simply this: worthy is your name. Some of you this morning have been realizing that there's a gap. The solution to the gap, we're going to look at over the coming weeks, but the solution to the gap is this: realizing that there's someone bigger and more powerful that wants to close the gap, that is closing the gap, that has closed the gap, that has won the battle that you are fighting. He's already done it. He's already won it. And we get to exalt him and set our minds and fix our minds on him. And so this is what I want us to do. I'm going to pray, and I just want you to worship for a moment. And if you want prayer, come out the front. I want to lay hands on you. I want to pray over you. I want to speak into you in order to see that gap begin to close. That this Christmas isn't just a story about a baby born in the manger. It's a story about a powerful king that came and closed the gap. So Jesus, I want to say thank you that you did something 2,000 years ago when you were born. That you came to close the gap, that you reached down into our lives 2,000 years ago. You came and reached down into people's lives to close the gap, God. And you've been doing that for the last 2,000 years, closing gaps, filling lives, bringing life, bringing joy, bringing peace, transferring us from death to life. And Jesus, for those, God, that they have it reverberating throughout their hearts and minds this morning of the gap that they are feeling between who they want to be, who they believe they should be, and what they are currently outworking. God, start with, I pray, I want to come against any spirit of condemnation, that does not have a right or an authority in this place. And Father, I want to pray that your presence goes in front of them this morning, empowers them, connects with them, engages with them, and ultimately, Jesus, your presence starts removing from them this gap that they are feeling. So as we worship Jesus, God, I want to pray that you're stirring hearts and you're stirring minds, and that you are coming in and healing hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name, Lord. Oh, worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. 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 Sing Be Exalted. Be exalted now in the heavens as your glory fills this place. You alone deserve our praise. You're the name above all names. Be exalted now in the heavens as your glory fills this Worthy is his name. How great it is to have worshipped together today, guys. And right now we have ice cream. So head outside, stand in line. If you've got children, please remember to get them because they'll be really cranky with you if you get ice cream without them. So go get them, head out, have ice cream, and we're so excited to see you again next week.